Hello, hello. Welcome to the Amigos Club. We'll be hosting, we'll be starting the room in just a couple of seconds. Let me just add the topics and invite a couple of people in. Thank you, Michael, Rose, Pablo, Loredana, for joining us this afternoon. We're going to be discussing this very important topic of retirement. Is it do it yourself project or do you hire a professional? This is a part of a series on financial awareness, being that April is Financial Literacy Month. We've been hosting under the Amigos Club different rooms regarding money mindset, protection, having a will, uh, budgeting, building an emergency account, basically all the basics about personal finance. So, thank you. The chat is open. So, if you have any particular questions when it comes to retirement planning, the do's, the don'ts, the plans, tips, what you're doing that's successful for you, just whatever it is, chime in, say hello in the chat, or come up and say hello. Let me go ahead and invite a couple of people in, and we'll get started in just a couple of minutes. Thank you.
Hey Jorge, how's it going, man?
Good, brother. Thank you for coming in. I'm just adding some the topics and pinging some people in. So give me just a quick second. We'll get going.
You got it, brother. No worries. And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll get started here in a moment. This is Amigos Retirement. Is it a do-it-yourself project? This is one of, I think we've already done like five already. We have two or three more. April is Financial Literacy Month, so what Jorge and I are doing, we're moderators here in the Amigos. But we also work in the finance space. So we have our, specific specialties, very similar, but overall, we like to help our community and educating them financial literacy stuff. So, in the regards that it is April Financial Literacy Month, we're holding different rooms. Last week, we had a couple of rooms on insurance and protections, budgeting as well. So today we're going to be talking about retirement. So, if you just bear with us for a second, while we get, I think we have another moderator supposed to join us. We're not sure, but a lot of good information today. So thank you for joining us again, and this is hosted by Amigos. Jorge and I are admins on it. Amigos, the largest Latinx, so follow La Casita Verde, little green house up top for all the rooms that we do host. Again, we try to host as many rooms as possible that are providing value to our community, helping us grow, and obviously we always look for collaborations so that we amplified our voices and our reach, and like a community, we could grow. So thank you again for joining us. I know it's a Saturday. For some of us, it's a very nice Saturday. For my part, I am getting ready because I have to get to an event, but nonetheless, we'll be here providing some value to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Santi. All right, I'm pinging in a couple of people, and we will be getting started in the next couple of seconds. But I wanted to just thank everybody. Hey, Emma, great seeing you. Emma helped us participating in moderating the first room that we had in this series. She is connecting, if I'm not mistaken, directly from Ireland, and she helped us a ton with the money blocks and addressing your money blocks on the mindset piece, which was the first room in the series for this month. So, again, I want to welcome everybody to this conversation, and I'll say it again. If you have any particular questions, if you're an employee and you have retirement plan through work and you have questions about it, go ahead and shoot them in the chat. If you are a solopreneur, you're thinking about getting your business started, and you're wondering if there are any options, the do's and don'ts, pros and cons of having a retirement plan through your business, or if you're self-employed and you're wondering if there's anything that you can take advantage of, definitely we'll be touching on those areas today. And with that, as people start coming in, I just invited a few other folks here in the to the room, but we can begin by discussing some of the financial challenges. As we're all very aware of, obviously through the pandemic, a lot of people got hit financially. A lot of people lost their employments. A lot of people had were forced to, for financial reasons, to dip into their savings and retirement accounts. So one of the challenges right now is that more than 9 in 10 retirees rely in Social Security as a source of income in retirement. And I was just looking up a little bit of on the stats on Social Security, and the average Social Security benefit last month, I mean, not last month, in January of this year was about $1,600. So I want you to picture right now a lot of people that think, well, Social Security is there. I don't need to save. That'll be my part of my income in retirement. I would want to encourage you to go ahead and register, to download your Social Security statement. Go online. If you download your statement, there's a section there in your statement that clearly describes that Social Security was never intended to, the creation of it was not intended to be as a retirement vehicle. It was meant to be as a supplement, in addition to work benefits, retirement benefits through work, and personal savings. It's supposed to be a three-legged stool. And when most people are planning retirement, relying entirely in Social Security, they are setting themselves up for a rude awakening when the time comes. With that, Santiago, have you experienced in talking to your clients people that say, "Man, I'm too young. Retirement is so far away. Social Security is there." What has been your experience when people talk about the topic of retirement?
Yeah, man, that's a really good question, and I think it's scary the amount of people that I have conversations on a daily basis, when we're sitting down hashing out a plan for them, and when we get to that topic of retirement, and like you, man, especially like the younger professionals, those in like mid 20s, late 20s, and they're telling me, "Oh, no, it's retirement for me is like 40 years away. I don't have to worry about that right now." But in fact, the sooner you start, the better. That you take advantage of the compounding interest at an earlier age, obviously, as opposed to, say, for example, you wait to the age of 35. Now you only have 32 years before you reach full retirement age. And if you were born after 1960, of course. And you lost out. If you say you started working at 25 years old and your job had a 401k or some sort of retirement plan where there's a pension like a 403b, that you just missed out on 10 years of compounding interest. And that is a huge, huge, huge impact to where retirement is. And sometimes it doesn't take a lot to contribute. And one thing that I like to highlight is the fact that last year they did a poll, a survey, and I believe it said 40%, nearly 40% of people participating in 401k retirement plans, they don't fully understand the fees or just the accounts or just how it works, And I think that I saw that a lot. I'm getting the red bar, Jorge. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you were
All
in and
right.
out for a second, but yeah, you're good.
All right, cool, man. So yeah, and one thing that I've seen in my experience, especially when I speak to my older clients, people that are closer to retirement, these are like usually like they're in their early 60s, mid 60s, or even late 50s, that they just never understood how their retirement plans worked through their employer, and they just didn't take advantage of it, of like the matching contributions, or they didn't understand the benefits of or just the structures of those matching contributions to their job. So I think it's very important that understanding it so you can see exactly, and like you, Jorge, man, when I show people those numbers and I tell them like, hey man, if you start contributing this amount, going forward, just the same and a base return. I don't know. I play with the number 7, 8, 10% return, whatever it is. This is what your money's gonna look like by the time you retire. And this is what happens if you wait. This is what happens if you're not taking advantage of those matching contributions. And it's really an eye opener, man. And I think that working with people like us, it really does help because yeah, there's a lot of complexities, especially how you structure your plan overall. If you have a pension plan through your job, are they forcing you to take everything out? Can you roll it over somewhere else? Can you leave it there? What are the implications of you leaving there? God forbid you die. So again, all these things, there's a lot there to comprehend. And unless you're actually working every single day, for a living doing this, it's really, really hard to comprehend because there's a lot there to digest.
Yep, I 100% agree with you, and thank you for sharing, Santi. And what I'll say about that, it happened to me, right? I was in college and in my 20s. I'll be honest, I had, my main priority was I need to get my car all decked out because I wanted to go out, and I was working, so every penny that I made was either to pay for my degree or just to go out and have fun and impress girls and have a nice car. Like I was not seeing further away. And one common comment that I hear from a lot of people that are older and approaching retirement, I was like, man, if I would have known, I would have started saving earlier. The comment that I hear sometimes is, no, retirement is so far away. Yeah, but it really isn't. And you lose on a lot of, Santiago mentioned, a lot of the compounding interest. And just to give you a quick example, I just ran these numbers real quick here. And if you are 30 years old, okay, and I know everybody here in this room is much younger than that, but let's just assume 30 years old. If you're 30 years old and you're working all the way to the age of 67, that's 37 years until you reach that retirement age, right? Now, if right now at the age of 30, somebody is earning $70,000 per year, that's their lifestyle today. There's one thing called the cost of living. Have you ever heard like your parents, grandparents talking about, well, back in the day, gas was like 10 cents a gallon, milk was 5 cents a gallon, whatever. That it is the cost of living, which increases every single year. And statistically, over the last 50 years, the inflation rate has been around a 3% mark. Currently, we are in the highest inflation rate over the last 40 years, but uh, traditionally, over the last 50 years, it's hovering around 3%. So if we use that 3% annual increase in the cost of living, $70,000 today, it, do you know how much money you're going to need to be earning annually at the age of 67 to be able to live the same lifestyle that today you live with a $70,000 a year income? That number, taking into account 3% inflation, that it's $209,000 per year that at the age of 67 you would need to earn, not to be living large, but just to be able to keep up with the increase in cost of living over the next 37 years. Now, when you think about that, it's a very eye opening experience because you say, well, wait a minute, my job is not giving pay raises every year. My job is whole like freezing the pay increases, sometimes even reducing some of the pay to be able to stay alive. So if my income is not increasing at the same rate as the cost of living, all that really means is that we're getting poorer by the day. And unless we actually do something about it and set a portion of our income towards retirement, then it'll become very, very difficult to get to that a point in our life where we can actually stop working for money. And before I hand it off to Santiago, I'll just say this to the people listening in the audience. There are only two things that create wealth in this world, and it's people and money. So either you have people working with you, you have a business, or you have money working for you, and that's investments. Investments in what sense? I talk to people about having IPAs, not like the beer. I like those too, but IPAs stands for income producing assets. That could be real estate. That could be stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, all these things that most people are not entirely sure how they work, but these are the things that we have at our disposal to be able to create that ultimate passive income that we want that we need to achieve at some point to be able to receive money without having to be trading our time for it and be able to retire. So, anything you want to share when it comes to that, Santiago, the increase of cost of living, anything that you want to share on that topic?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think it's incumbent upon us that this year, especially this year, dude, that we've seen the highest levels of inflation in 40 years. It's important to realize that inflation has outpaced the average salary. Like Jorge says, it averages around 3%, but how many people actually get a 3% raise on a yearly basis? Not a lot. I mean, I think, like for example, I was sitting down with a client having this conversation, and she told me, listen, she works for a really good law firm, and she hasn't had a raise in about, I think, like 4 years. She mentioned, which is crazy. That this firm does very well. The partners all have they make a very good living. Obviously, they have a very great um a lifestyle, but their employees, they're stuck making the same thing they were making 4 or 5 years ago. And and one thing that we've noticed this year, especially, the price of goods, food is going up. It's supposed to reach an all-time high in August. The housing market is red hot right now, so prices of those homes are going up. The interest rates are up again. I think the average for 30 years, I believe, I don't know, 4% or something, which is crazy, which is right where we saw it before the pandemic. So the cost of living, yes, which is cool. I mean, that's such an important topic that even in the military now, I'm a veteran. We actually got coal allowances, and those are tax free, but that's how much the cost of living is a conversation is important to have and realize that some people say, yeah, I'm gonna have this amount of money, and I'll be able to live comfortably. But in fact, when gas is more than $5 a gallon, milk is hovering at $4 a gallon, or 3.50, whatever it is, and you're on a set income, then you're really kicking yourself in the behind now, and you're really not doing your future self any favors, by not preparing correctly. And just, it's all about having that mindset, having that conversation, that eye-opening conversation, that you have to start planning now, start taking advantage of that, because we spend a lot more time as older people than as young people. So one thing that I've seen also, in having these conversations with clients, especially the older ones, that their only their only recourse to have a comfortable retirement is going back to their country. And I think that's and when they put into context that, oh man, this is how much I'm going to get from my 401k. I never knew that if I didn't do at least 3%, I wasn't going to get the matching contribution. This whole time I'm only doing 1 or 2%, and it's just ridiculous. And it's reverse immigration. It's really, really sad. It's heartbreaking because some people don't mind it. They're like, oh yeah, I'll go back to my country, and into my rancho, or to my town, to my city, my pueblo, whatever it is. But you miss out on your golden years, and you can't see your grandchildren grow up. And it's just these things that, with proper planning, and just having the conversation of understanding, and just saying, hey, listen, this is how much you're gonna need to comfortably retire. And by whatever year you're supposed to retire. And also another thing, it's, the plan is for you to plan adequately, in order for your money to outlive you, and not for you to outlive your money.
Absolutely, and thank you, Santiago. So I posted a couple of questions here on the chat, and I'll share one last stat, and then I want to make sure that we provide you with some tips or some plans that are at your disposal. And obviously, please, everything that we discuss here, don't take as individual advice. Reach out to a professional. If you have a CPA, tax professional, definitely reach out to them to see what fits your particular needs. If you need help with any of the particular investment advice or products, then yeah, definitely reach out to either one of us, or somebody that you can talk to confidently. But one of the stats that I wanted to mention is, which I find actually pretty scary. A survey recently um, um, show that 44%, which is crazy, 44% of Americans between the ages of 40 and 79 have taken money out of their retirement plan. Now, that's crazy. And the reason why, and I understand, there are emergencies, but proper planning will make sure that, will protect you against that. But beyond that, why is that crazy? Any retirement plan that you put money into has a couple of benefits. You have some tax advantages. So if you take money out of a retirement vehicle prior to the age of 59 and a half, you are going to pay taxes on the money plus a 10% penalty. There are certain exceptions, but the rule of thumb is if you put money for retirement, that's the purpose. Money has different purposes. So you should have an emergency account, you should have a short-term account, you should have all those things set up. But retirement money is meant long-term and is meant not to be touched until you actually reach retirement age. So with that said, okay, so what are the options? Because when somebody's starting to plan, I have a 401k at work, and I don't know how it works. I don't know if I should invest. I don't know if I should invest. I don't know if I should put a portion of it. Uh, so the I'll start with that. If you're employed, if you have a 401k offering, sometimes if you work for a nonprofit or you work for a school, for example, I worked for a university for almost a decade. You have access to different types of plans. So you have the 401k, which is traditionally the most known, is the one that most corporations offer to their employees. For, say, schools, nonprofits, there's one called a 403b. They function similar. Okay, say a 401k, whatever money you put into these plans out of your paycheck, that becomes deductible. So if you earn $50,000 a year, for example, and you put in $5,000 of your paycheck in the year towards your 401k, you would only pay taxes as if you earned $45,000 in the year. So contributing money to a 401k, for example, if you have one sponsored through your employer, it's good business for you long term for a couple of reasons. Number one, you are getting a tax deduction today, so that that's one good thing. Number two is most companies do do an employer match. So if you put in 3% of your income, a lot of companies still out there say, you know what, I'm gonna match your contribution dollar for dollar up to 3% of your income. That means that if you put in 3% of your income and your company is putting 3% of your income, you're it's like putting away 6%, but you're only putting three out of your own pocket. So you get tax deductions and you get free money and you get the compounding interest for your retirement. So those are, to me, after having a properly set up emergency account, taking advantage of a retirement plan through work is the first step to building some retirement assets. What would you suggest? What's your comment about that, Santiago?
Take advantage of that free money for God's sakes, please. If your job is saying, "Hey, listen, we're gonna match you dollar for dollar, um, every single dollar that you put into, whether it's 3%, 6%, 7%." Also try to understand that, when you go to your human resource or when they give you that benefit package, they're not allowed to give you advice. So they literally just say, "Listen, it's go talk to somebody." And one thing that people do, whether they get a physical one or they get a PDF, they go like, "Well, what am I supposed to pick? What am I supposed to like?" Well, listen, there's a number there. Good luck. It's, you call some 800 number, you're on hold for God knows how long, and you're just trying to, make sense of this. So yeah, that matching contribution through your job, whether they're matching you 100% of your first 3% and then like 50% of your next 3%. So it's just kind of like understanding it's super important. It's free money. And of course that contribution generally takes care of that tax liability at the end of the road. Because sometimes people tell me, well, Santi, I don't want to pay the taxes later on down the road, you know, because it's a 401k, it's pre-tax dollars. I'll owe a bunch of taxes. Yeah, but you're missing out on that matching contribution. If Can you imagine if your 3% would equal to 6,000 and your job is putting 6,000, you just gave yourself a $6,000 raise, and it's free money.
That's right.
It's free money. Why would you say no to that? So, and you think about it, if it's gonna grow 8, 10% over the course of 20 years, just their contribution. It's just insane that, I mean, Jorge and I have done figures, I'm sure, and when we sit down, and I could remember the first time I saw those calculations, Jorge, and I wanted to like just like I was astounded, like, oh my God, it's not a couple of $1,000s. No, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars that people are missing out on by not participating, by not taking full advantage of those matching contributions through their job. So, and there's always other ways to structure that stuff. Some people, they're doing 15% and the job is doing 6%. In that case, sometimes I tell them, hey, listen, they're only matching up to 6. The other 9% difference, we look at the number. You could also do it in a Roth IRA, so you could kind of split that contribution up, so you could get the most out of those pre-tax dollars and that matching contribution, and then you put the remaining in a after-tax contribution vehicle where you don't have to worry about taxes down the road. So again, it just really depends on the situation. It all comes down to the numbers and how they work, and the tax shelter is going to provide, because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, helping people understand how a retirement vehicle is also providing you a tax shelter and a tax efficient vehicle as well.
That's right. That's absolutely correct. And so beginning with that, the 401k is the one that is most known, and one of the major errors, one of the major mistakes that most people make, especially when you're younger, you're starting at your current job, you see somebody who is much older than you, they seem much wiser than you, they've been around, like this guy's got the stuff in order. And one of the major mistakes that most new investors make when they just join their 401k is, let me go ask that guy, because he seems like he's got his stuff put together. And that's not always the best thing to do. And the reason behind that is, we all, as investors, as individuals, have different risk profiles, different risk tolerance. So I may be a very aggressive investor, but the person next to me might be a super conservative, terrified of the market type of investor. So if I go and ask somebody who is 5 years, 3 years away from retirement, hey, listen, John, what do you, where do you put in your money in the 401k? He may tell me, hey, listen, I'm investing this money into these funds, and those funds may be super, super conservative, and they may earn me almost nothing. But for him, it's a perfect type of investment because he is more conservative. He is closer to the retirement. So, what I mean by that is, it's not a cookie cutter solution for everybody, especially in investing. You got to look at your time horizon, how long you're going to need, how long until you need the money. You're going to need to look at the purpose of the money. In this case, today we're discussing retirement. And you need to look at the third thing, which is, what is your risk tolerance? How aggressive are you willing to be with your investments over a long period of time? How much can you put up with when it comes to risk? So those are the three items that you got to look into. And yeah, for sure, Santiago mentioned, reach out to your HR. But when you have a 401k at work, traditionally the 401k has an advisor assigned to it. There's a representative, and actually they are required to go at least on a quarterly basis and do educational workshops to let the employees know more about their options when it comes to investing. Now, if you have on at work a 401k and you haven't seen anybody, that's pretty common. So you definitely need to reach out to somebody that can help you. So that's the 401k. Now, is that the only one out there? No, there are different types of retirement plans that we all have available to us. As individuals, we have an IRA. IRA stands for Individual Retirement Account. Okay. The government allows us to set money aside for ourselves independently of any type of employer, all the way, and you can put in all the way up to $6,000 per year for your retirement. There are some income face outs and everything. So you definitely got to talk to somebody about that. But you have option of putting money into an IRA. Then you have SEP IRAs, simple IRAs, solo 401ks. You have 457s. You have KEO plans. There are many plans out there. And the reason why I wanted to share that is because, especially here, we know that under the Amigos Club, we have a lot of professionals. We have a lot of people who have, great employment, and a lot of them also have a business. And a lot of us here in the club are business owners. solopreneurs. Maybe we have no employees, and there's a misconception of, well, I don't have a big company, so I can't have a 401k. Well, yes, you do. Now, there are options as an entrepreneur to set money aside for retirement. If you're self employed, you can look into setting up a SEP IRA, SEP, Simplified Employee Pension Plan. These type of plans allow you to set aside 25% of whatever you earn in the year and put it towards your retirement. The maximum contribution was recently increased for 2022. And now for a SEP IRA, somebody can put in all the way up to, I believe it went up to $61,000 for 2022 is the maximum that you can put in. 25% of your income all the way up to $61,000. So if you have an amazing year, if you're self-employed, if you're a realtor, and you just had a killer crushing a year, that's an option for you to have flexibility to reduce your tax burden today. So you have a SEP IRA. Now, Santiago, have you experienced with a lot of your clients, self-employed clients, that they use these type of plans? And if not, what other plans have you seen that people implement to reduce the tax burden and be able to save for retirement?
So for my clients that are self-employed, the ones that they have a business, like I have three, I have a couple of restaurant owners, and I also have a guy who owns an architecture firm. They have, I think, 7, 8 employees. So what we do with them is we just set them up through a group retirement account. So they again, everybody's contributing towards a employee sponsored 401k. And of course, some people take advantage of the Roth IRA. I haven't done much of the steps, to be honest with you, Jorge. And then of course that my young professionals that are entrepreneurs, that they have through their jobs, that they're taking advantage of the 401ks and the retirement options through there. So I haven't had the opportunity to set those up yet. So I'm sure that, as people change, as some people, their businesses are growing where they're just going to be, like you said, solopreneurs. I'm sure that we'll be doing some sort of, SEP IRA accounts, or just balancing some transfers, some balances over from their 401ks, if they can't, again, if they can obviously keep it in whatever company they have it with.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and so the SEP IRA is great for self-employed people, especially if you don't have any employees. And the benefit of it is, like I said, you can put in 25% of your income up to that maximum per year. Right now, it's up to 61,000. But the thing is, the downside of it is that if you start hiring employees, if you're contributing 25% of your income, then you gotta offer the same percentage to all the employees equally. So that's where you say, well, wait a minute, I may not want to do that. I want to do 25% for me, but if I hire somebody else, I don't necessarily want to put out of my pocket for their retirement. I want them to have some skin in the game. So as you start scaling, there's other types of plans like a simple IRA. And a simple IRA is another employer-sponsored retirement account that is traditionally reserved for companies that have less than 100 employees. And what it allows you to do is the business can say, all right, guys, similar to a 401k, if you put money in, I'll put money in, and the maximum it'll be like all the way up to 3%. So it's as you start scaling, a simple might be also another option. But one thing that a lot of people are not aware of is if you're self-employed, if you have a business, you can have a SEP IRA if you have no employees, but also you can actually set yourself up with what's called a solo K or a solo 401k. Similar to the SEP IRA, you can set it up as your own 401k plan, just like a regular big corporation type of plan. You can borrow your own money in the solo K all the way up to 50% of the account balance, and it's for you. It's for you, your spouse, and your kids. So if you're a solopreneur, if you're married, if you have kids, guess what? You can actually set up a solo 401k for your household, basically, as long as everybody's involved in the business. And it's a great tool to be able to reduce the tax burden, provide your kids with some income, and also help them save a little bit for retirement. Definitely discuss this with a tax professional. But for example, if I have a solo 401k and my wife is working with me, I can choose to pay my wife 19,500, right? Which was the maximum contribution. Actually, right now for 2022 is 20,500. So I can choose to pay my wife $20,500 for an annual income through my business. Now, as an employee, she could choose to contribute 100% of her income to her, which would be that limit, to the 401k. So for tax purposes, how much money did she earn? Nothing. She earned it. She contributed 100. So it it definitely helps with reducing the tax burden while still saving money for retirement. So the idea of retirement, the topic of today, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that is not there's a lot of information, there's a lot of benefits in the right way of structuring it, depending on your business, your time horizon, your experience with investing. A lot of moving parts can really help you get closer to that magic number, which I like to call your financial independence number, your FIN number. That is that sum of money that you need to accumulate by the time you retire to be able to say, okay, I can choose to retire. Because one mistake that people make is that they think retirement is an age, and retirement is not an age. Retirement is a number. If today everybody here had $10 million in the bank, you can choose to retire. You don't have to show up to work anywhere to make a living. If you do, is because you're passionate and you love what you do. And the idea with proper planning and retirement planning specifically is you want to get to the point where you can continue to work because of the passion of it, not because you have to punch in and out, whether you feel like it or not, to put food on the table. Now, so in addition to the SEP and the simple 401k, are there anything else that you might suggest, Santiago, when it comes to planning for retirement?
I think it's very important to realize that when you're an employer, those and if I lose you, Cody, I'm about to cross the tunnel. But if again, it's important to realize that when you are an employer, um, and you're making those employer contributions, you write those things off. They're a business expense. You write them off dollar for dollar. So it just provides, again, it helps you out with tax efficiencies for your own business because at the end of the day, when you're planning, as a business owner, it's planning for yourself and planning for your business, two separate things. So obviously, it just again provides a tax shelter on that end. So for me.
So I just lost you there. You might have gone on in the tunnel, but the question that I have for you is, you said something key just now. Is uh, planning for your investment in your business is not the same as planning personally. So what would you recommend somebody to begin with? Like, so where do I start? Should I sort of start with my business retirement, with my personal retirement? How do I structure that? Hello, hello. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Oh, there you go. I don't know.
Oh,
I
there
got
you
a
go. I don't know.
call
I got a.
and I went totally mute here. So I totally missed it. Kendall, did you have a question? Did Santiago address it?
Good to have you here.
How do you hear?
Hi, Jorge. Thank you for having me up as a moderator. I know I did not ask Santiago a question yet. I have a couple of questions for both of you, please. So the first question is, all right. Um, I know of a couple of, some big corporations now. No matter what salary you get up to in those organizations, they're going to retire you at what you came into the organization on, whatever salary that was. So, for example, if you came in at 30,000 and you get up to 100,000, they're going to, when you retire, base what you receive on the 30,000. And that was, I have about four quick questions. I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Is that, have you heard about that? Is that something that is concerning a lot of people?
So you're saying that they're gonna regress your salary to 30,000? That's what they're gonna retire you on?
Yes.
I that's the first time I've heard of anything like that. That's yeah. I wonder. Yeah, I wonder if that's a new thing. Jorge, have you ever heard about that before? Okay.
What that sounds like, and I may be wrong, but Kendall, I would definitely like to touch base on a one-on-one to see more about that. But there are some companies that still offer, especially government employment, offer pension plans, and that's called a defined benefit plan. The difference in retirement planning is you have defined contribution plans and defined benefit plans. Defined benefit plans are basically pension plans, and they are based on once you retire. You see this with teachers, police officers, firefighters, government employees mainly. That based on your annual income and your years of service, they have a fund and they will just pay you your income or a percentage of your income for the rest of your life. So it seems like that might be a little bit of what you're referring to. But if it doesn't sound exactly like that, I would definitely I'd be interested in taking a peek at what it is.
Yeah, it sounded like Jorge says, like for example here in New York City, cops that started before 2006, I know they're called tier twos. If they work 20 years, they get a 50% pension of the last 3 years of that they were on the job. And then if they work 30 years, they get 75% of the pension based on the last 3 years of what they work. And then after the guys who got hired afterwards, they're a different tier. They got to do 21 years to get that 50%, and I think it's like 32 years for that 75%. But they started at a higher pace, so it sounds like I also would be more interested into learning exactly the details of what Miss Kendall, what you were mentioning.
Yes, I'd love to talk to you another time because, so for example, I used to be a government contractor, and there are federal government contractor, and there are a lot of people that actually worked for the government and are coming back as contractors because you make more money as a contractor. And unfortunately, the federal government eventually is, they have the pay grade system that people have retired on and done very well on. And that system, they're going to also um, lower the grades. And people said it would never be done. And that's actually going to be done as well. And so, because from my understanding, the trend of the majority of businesses in the digital economy are going to be that when you come to these businesses, when they talk about their human capital, they want you to come as a contractor with your full package. They don't want to have to, because apparent, for example, a lot of government agencies are pushing people to retire now at 60, and 60 is young, and so Um, they want you to come with your package and your full benefits. And for example, Amtrak is a place that now they are retiring people and taking away the pensions. And they're technically a government entity, but they're run one way and then on paper in another way. And so that was something, these are concerns for a lot of people.
Yep, and obviously I can understand why that would be a concern, right? Nobody likes anything being taken away, especially any type of benefit that can provide you with income and retirement. Now, I'll give you the example of a client of mine. She is a teacher. She was a teacher in the state of Pennsylvania, and she had accumulated enough that she could do that she could basically leave her employment, getting her full pension plan, and she decided to cash out a portion of the pension, receive a monthly pension contribution, and she's still young. She went back to work as a teacher in New York. So now this is somebody who has, in addition to what we've been working on, which is the IRAs on her by herself, plus the 403b that she had at the school, plus the pension that she had for the school district. She now chose to take a pension, so she's getting a pension payment now. Uh, Took a portion of the money that she could take out and we invested it somewhere else. Now she's working on another state as a teacher, collecting from the pension plan and building her retirement in another state. So by the time that she actually reaches retirement age, she's going to be more than okay. It is not the norm when it comes to retirement planning to have these many options available at once. So she definitely did the right thing from the get go. But to your point, Kendall, it's yeah, we see that often, especially with people who work in the government, the pension plans, and people coming back to work because they retire them early, and then they get the option of coming back eventually as contractors or even as taking another employee. Definitely, what depending on the state that you're in, where are you located?
Oh, okay. Um, did you ask a question?
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I
No, I
lost
was
you for
just
a
asking
second.
where are you located?
So I'm originally from New York, but I'm currently in the DMV, the District, Maryland, Virginia. I'm in the state of Maryland, and I talk to a lot of people. I have a trademark for a business. I was a contractor, and I had a bootstrap home-based business that was successful. So I want to ask another question about the 401ks, and then I have a question about solo entrepreneurs. Oh, okay, thank you. My next question about the 401ks is, can you briefly, uh, I shouldn't say briefly, I'd say just the basics of what has security improved for 401k investments? In other words, I know of a couple of instances that were 10 or 15 years ago where people's 401k was stolen by the company or stolen by the person who is managing them. What if you're for small to mid-sized companies? Is there anything in place now to protect people's 401ks with the individual company? I know the federal government, and does the federal government have some protection as well?
Yes, yes. So there are regulations for this at the federal level. So if there is any inclination of any wrongdoing, you can definitely file it, especially if the advisor or the company is, like you said, stealing or taking away the funds. That's obviously that's totally illegal. That would get them in jail. Not just getting their licenses away and their businesses shut down, but they'll go to jail. So there are some safeguards and regulations in order to protect the consumer against these type of things. Now, as a small business owner, if it's just yourself or you and your spouse, and you want to set a solo 401k, the question is, so how do I do it? Because I mean, okay, great, sounds great. It's like my own little 401k, but where do I start? There are several companies that do that. I mean, some of the companies you're already aware of. You can open them with Capital Group, American Funds, July Services. You can open them with Invesco. There are several investment firms out there that they're not fly by night type of companies. They've been around forever. They have billions of dollars under management, and them together with the assistance of an investment advisor to set them up properly for you, you should be good to go and take full advantage of it, have full control of it, and feel with the confidence that it'll be there when you need it. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it did, because I know that's a big concern for anybody who was, whether the company is matching it or not, will it be there? So, yes, it did. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Kendall. Another thing you could do is just go to Finra on the Finra website. You could check out either the company, the advisor, whoever you're working with, and you could check if they have any complaints and anything against them, and you could see exactly just get a history of them and anything if anything's been reported, if they've been accused of anything, even an accusation, and I know advisors that have had accusations, and it's just because it's a lack of communication that this person didn't explain to the client very well, and the client was expecting a better return, whatever it was, and they filed a complaint with FINRA, even though it might have not been the advisor's fault. It could have just been the person making the complaint that was just very erratic in their behavior. It still shows up. So just going to that FINRA website and checking them out, it makes, it gives you some peace of mind there.
Yep, and the website is broker check. If you just
Yeah,
Google
broker check.
broker check, if you do broker check, you can check any company, any licensed person in the investment world. You can do it, and from there you can also check investment advisor reps, like Santiago said. Anything that will go on your record. If somebody makes a complaint, we have to file it. Whether it was resolved, whether it was you know wrong or not, or not a mistake. If there's ever any complaints or anything, it'll be there. So that's a good starting point before you choose to work with somebody for sure, and give you a little bit of peace of mind as well. It's just, somebody may say, "Oh, I've been in the business forever," and then you go and check them and you see them that they're not anywhere. They're not even licensed, or they maybe been in the business for 2 months, and you're like, "Wait a minute, what are you talking about?" So definitely, that's I second that with Santiago. You can go to broker check the person that you're working with, and find out a little bit more about them.
That's great. Thank you. My, go ahead.
No, I go ahead. If you have another question, please.
Okay, my final question was for solo entrepreneurs. You know, so could you talk about risk tolerance for solo entrepreneurs? For example, uh, when they're starting a business, they may or may not be taking a salary, and then they have to provide health insurance for their family, or versus health insurance if they hire an employee, having to pay workman's comp and all these different things. But yet they need to put some money, like you say, in a 401k or invest and save. So, what would be the risk tolerance? So let's say that they have two children and a wife, and maybe one of the children is accident prone, has had a broken leg or something, and another child maybe has had uh, chicken pox or something like that. And so, how would they gauge for these unforeseen things coming? Let's say that the husband, the solopreneur, he is in his late 30s, early 40s, and the wife is in her mid to late 30s as well.
Well, I mean, that's really a question for you to have like a one-on-one consultation with that, because again, everybody's risk tolerance is different. Obviously, it depends on the type of business, but some of those questions that you asked in terms of, for example, the health insurance stuff. I know there's this guy here that we've all connected with. Mike is his name, and he does
Healthy
all
unicorn.
of the healthy unicorn. Yeah, man, he's great. He does all that stuff with health insurance protections for small businesses, and obviously that's a tax write-off as well because it's a business expense. But I mean, some of those questions in the terms of kids that are accident prone or stuff for your children, that's all really based on who you go with, and you want to get protection for your family, that's fine, but again, it on who you broker it with, what's exact coverage that you need as well. So, but some of the other stuff like risk tolerance as far as kids that are accident prone, those are things that a health insurance company would because those are like underwriting requirements. If I'm not mistaken, Jorge.
Yep, and to your point, so Kendall, you cover a very important point, and it kind of branches away from the conversation of specifically retirement, although it's incredibly important. I think that the overall planning for your business, there are those variables that you're including. Okay, so I need to provide a way for my employees to stick around, right? I say is the four T's. It's saving money on the time that it takes to train due to turnover, and save on taxes. So those are the four T's that every business should try to save money on. And the way to do that is by providing benefits and awareness and education to your employees so they don't jump ship for an extra dollar an hour or whatever the case may be. If you add value, they will stick around, right? If you show that you care for them. That being said, the word risk tolerance is it's more related to the investment part of it. So, risk tolerance meaning what kind of portfolio should I have for myself based on my particular needs, and those needs are kind of, I think I mentioned earlier, the time horizon. When am I going to need the money? How much risk am I willing to take during that period of time? And number three is, what is the purpose of the money? Is it because I'm buying a house? Is it because it's an emergency account? Is this my vacation fund, or is this my retirement? Depending on the need and the time in which we're going to have to use the money, is where that risk lever has to be moving up or down based on that particular need. On the health insurance piece, I would definitely have, like Santiago mentioned, have that conversation one on one that specializes in that area. On the investment side, definitely you can reach out to either of us to help you with all that conversation. And the last thing that I'll share, when you discuss health plans, one thing that to reduce also tax burden, more people are not aware that an HSA, a health savings account, it also that your contribution to it is also tax deductible. So that's another thing that as you're planning for your business, and you're getting some health insurance set up for you and possibly your employees, that asking your health provider if an HSA plan might be an option, because contributing into it also can help you with some tax deductions. I hope that helped. But definitely, if you have more questions, for sure, don't hesitate. Reach out to either of us. We're happy to have the conversation, push in the right direction.
Thank you. No, all your answers were wonderful. I really appreciate you having me up as a moderator and allowing me to ask that broad scope of questions and receive your information for myself and for others that are in the room. Thank you.
Thank you for coming up and having these questions. Really, really appreciate it, because a lot of us, believe it or not, uh, not just yourself, but a lot. I'm sure that some people in the audience have similar questions, or were not even aware that they needed to ask those questions. And thanks to you, somebody knows now a little bit more information. So thank you for coming up and sharing with us. And as we are getting to the top of the hour, I wanted to, first of all, again, thank the Amigos Club for allowing us to host these conversations in this financial literacy month, month of April. And thank you, Santiago, for participating, collaborating, bringing your experience and your knowledge with these conversations we've been having. And with that, we're going to begin to wrap up the room. But any last words, any last takeaway or tips, action steps that you may want to share with the room, Santiago?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And yeah, I also want to extend a thank you to everybody who came in and participated and showed support. And of course, always thank you to Amigos, the largest Latinx club here on Clubhouse, for providing these rooms that just have so much value to our community. This is very, very important information, stuff that, years ago we had to somehow figure it out, make phone calls, try to Google it, even before Google. Like, I feel bad. Like my dad is. I always use my dad as an example because, man's been participating in his retirement plan for years, and he never understood. And when somebody told him, I think I was still in the military. When somebody said, "Oh yeah, when you go to use that money, you got to pay taxes on it," his mindset was, "What do you mean I got to pay taxes on my money?" And nobody explained to him that it was pre-tax dollars. So, having conversations and reaching out to someone, that just makes a difference. There is absolutely zero commitment with talking to somebody like myself or Jorge even. That information is free. At the end of the day, I'm establishing myself in a situation, and I'm sure Jorge is as well, that, hey, listen, if we reach out to you to have a conversation, you turn it down, and then a situation arises where, hey, I would
Is it me, or are we losing Santiago?
We're missing him.
I'm sure everything you're sharing is dynamite, brother, but we're losing you a bit. But I mean, we get the gist of it. I see his mic went off, but yeah, it's we're here to help. We're here to help. As my last comment and action step is, I would just share with everybody in the audience that personal finance, even though it's personal, doesn't have to be done alone. So get help and take action. It's confusing sometimes, all the options, and when you reach out, I know my friend Nando's down in the audience. By enlisting the help of a professional, a coach, an advisor, sometimes they're able to, not sometimes, most of the time, they're able to show you the blind spots, things that you may not be aware that you were missing, and help you come out on top. So again, thank you, Santiago. Thank you, everybody, for the conversation. Kendall, thank you so much for your participation and your questions. I think they were awesome. And if you want to go in more detail about that particular plan, definitely reach out to either Santiago or I. Happy to have a conversation with you. And with that, thank you, everybody. We're gonna be shutting down the room. Have an amazing Saturday. Have an amazing weekend, and stay tuned for the conversation coming up on Tuesday, continuing this financial literacy month. Have a great weekend, everybody.
take care,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone. Take care. Bye.